I can't believe it. We are a week away from Election Day. What I can tell you is this: what happened at MSG the other night is not helping Donald Trump. And Republicans across the land here are curling up into a pretzel trying to make excuses for the people that spoke. And it wasn't just a comedian, some will say, oh, it was just a joke, it's just a comedian. No, there were plenty others like Rudy Giuliani and others that made horrible statements, horrible jokes about Jews, about black people, about Muslims, about Puerto Rico. You name it, they pretty much offended everybody except right-wing evangelical Christians. I mean, that's really what we were talking about. It was a hate-filled rally. So we have Republicans now that are curling themselves into a pretzel trying to make excuses which are pathetic. And Scott Jennings is just a complete imbecile. He is an absolute embarrassment to CNN. We'll get to that a little bit later because another guy by the name of Mr. Gurdusky made some racist statements last night. We'll get to that a little bit later. But Scott Jennings is just a talking head for right-wing MAGA Republicans and a complete imbecile. I want you to listen to what he said live on CNN with Anderson Cooper, trying to make an excuse for the vile MSG campaign stop. Have a listen to this.
By this, and I totally think it's perfectly fine to be offended by it because some of the things that were said were offensive. But if you're offended by this, people from the entertainment industry saying vile and offensive things in the context of politics, Kamala Harris certainly has entertainment industry supporters that have said vile and offensive things. Not all of them were at her rallies. But if you look at some of the lyrics and other production that they've done, it is terrible, vile, and offensive. So if we're all going to professionally faint tonight, I would just say let's maybe do it on both sides of the line because I'm against it. I said it's not all been done. It's not all been done at any of her events.
Right, it hasn't been done at any of her events. Some of the people who are her most vicious,
some of her people that are her most ardent supporters have said things about women and domestic violence and the treatment of women and other issues that are truly beyond the pale. So I do think when you're in the entertainment industry, you get edgy, and this is what you get when you put them at your political rally.
Complete idiot. First of all, not true. There hasn't been one Kamala Harris rally where they were introducing Kamala Harris with a guest speaker who made racist, misogynistic comments attacking Jews, Muslims, blacks. So Scott Jennings is a liar, and he's trying to make some sort of analogy or comparison to a musician that might be endorsing Kamala Harris to lyrics in one of their albums. Are people stupid enough to think the two are the same? They are not the same. A musician, for example, because I think he was trying to make this correlation pathetic, that somehow a musician that might have some quote-unquote offensive lyrics in an album is the same thing as a speaker going up there at one of Donald Trump's campaign rallies calling Puerto Rico a garbage country or attacking blacks and making racist jokes. Let me be very clear. There is no comparison. Scott Jennings is lying. It doesn't happen at Kamala Harris events, and if it did, she would call it out. Scott Jennings, you're an imbecile with no backbone, and you're a liar, and you're a scumbag. You want to hear J.D. Vance's response? Well, here is somebody who could be a heartbeat away from the leader of the free world, and once again, another spineless Republican curling up into a pretzel when asked about the misogynistic and racist comments and the hate-filled rally at MSG. Here's what J.D. Vance had to say.
Now, I've heard about the joke. I haven't actually seen the joke that you mentioned, but I think that it's telling that Kamala Harris's closing message is essentially that all of Donald Trump's voters are Nazis and you should get really pissed off about a comedian telling a joke. That is not the message of a winning campaign. And most importantly, it's not the message of a person who's fit to be the president of the United States of America. And my own view on this is, look, again, I haven't seen the joke. Maybe it's a stupid racist joke, as you said. Maybe it's not. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to comment on the specifics of the joke. But I think that we have to stop getting so offended at every little thing in the United States of America. I'm so over it.
Literally, ladies and gentlemen, literally, every word out of this guy's mouth is a lie. Kamala Harris has never said that everybody supporting Donald Trump is a Nazi. Everything they say is a lie. She never made that statement, and by the way, she never would. And last I checked, no prominent Democrat has made that statement as well. Now, what some prominent people on television have said, and I will be one of those people on the radio, that some of the language that was used at MSG the other night is similar type of verbiage that Adolf Hitler used. And I believe it was a rally full of bigotry, full of hatred, and full of negativity. So J.D. Vance, again, lies with his excuse for what took place. This wasn't just about one joke. And don't you also find it interesting that, oh, I didn't hear that, so I really can't comment on it. How many times have you heard these MAGA idiots on the far right when it applies to Donald Trump? Oh, well, I didn't really hear that, so I can't really comment on it. How many times have we heard that? But if Kamala Harris laughs a certain way, they'll be the first person to talk about that. J.D. Vance is a liar with no backbone. Same thing with Scott Jennings. And how is Donald Trump responding to this? You see, Donald Trump this morning at Mar-a-Lago had an opportunity to apologize. He had an opportunity to own it and say, hey, you know what? I didn't know that guy was going to speak. Some people in my campaign made a mistake. He could have said anything to own up in the smallest possible way for the hate speech and the racist statements that were made at his rally at MSG. But no, what did he do? The same type of language that he uses when describing January 6th, he used that same language talking about his MSG rally. Have a listen to Donald Trump's response.
I don't think anybody has ever seen anything like what happened the other night at Madison Square Garden. The love in that room. It was breathtaking, and you could have filled it many, many times with the people that were unable to get in. But politicians that have been doing this for a long time, 30 and 40 years, said there's never been an event so beautiful. It was like a love fest, an absolute love fest, and it was my honor to be involved. And hopefully, you know, they started to say, well, in 1939, the Nazis used Madison Square Garden. Well, and you know what? But can you imagine it? 1939, the Nazi, they would. But how terrible to say, right? Because, you know, they've used Madison Square Garden many times. Many people have used it, but nobody's ever had a crowd like that. And I tell you what, right now, nobody's ever had love like that. That was love in the room, and it was love for our country. It was really love for our country.
Let me be very clear. Donald Trump doesn't know what love is because I'm not sure anybody has unconditionally loved him. Donald Trump doesn't know what love is. To Donald Trump, love is having sex with a porn star 2 weeks after your child is born. To Donald Trump, love is sexual abuse. To Donald Trump, love is racist, bigoted statements in nature. That's what the definition of love is to Donald Trump, because Donald Trump doesn't know what love is, because I'm not sure anybody's ever loved him, and I certainly don't think he's ever unconditionally loved anybody else except himself. He's called January 6th a love fest. He's now called his MSG hate fest campaign stop a love fest. But what's hate to Donald Trump? Hate to Donald Trump is the Kamala Harris rally with Beyonce. That's hate. So now we're a week before the elections and for Election Day, and a week before the elections, Donald Trump is trying to convince all of you that he's not a Nazi. So his campaign is going very well. Meanwhile, you have Kamala Harris all over the country with some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry, Republicans, big name Republicans. Laura Bush just came out to support Kamala Harris, by the way. And Donald Trump has Hulk Hogan attempting to rip off his shirt. That's the difference, ladies and gentlemen. We have 1 week to go.